one of my recent videos, I talked about overwhelm, and I was surprised by how many people clicked on it and looked. And I know we struggle with overwhelm an awful lot, but I was kind of surprised by how many people also share the same feelings that I had. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about overwhelm, what I've learned myself, and how I apply it to my practice. So I'm currently being overwhelmed by a dog who wants his ball constantly thrown for him. So one of the things I do is I teach people to speak in public in front of groups, either on video or in person. And one of the biggest challenges they have is a high anxiety or high fear of messing up, of cocking up. And so they get really overwhelmed with the people, what they need to do, how they talk to people, how they get their message across. Lots of different things. And so one of the things I get them to do is I say, right, write down whatever's in your head. Just write it down. Just go free form. And as you write, think about what's the biggest fears that you have. What do you expect to happen when you're speaking? And literally they will just write and write and write. And it can take them 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. And then once they do that, I go, okay, so do that. Now go out and deliver your presentation. Go and speak to camera. And then when they come back, I say, right, now write down exactly what happened. What you can remember from what happened. And compare the two. Compare what you thought would happen to what actually did happen. And it always surprises them, no matter what stage in their career they are, where they are in terms of their business, always surprises them that they always think it's all going to be a lot worse than it actually is. It's like, okay, so now you realize, the world's not going to end. You're not going to make a fool of yourself. People are not going to ridicule you, and you're not going to forget your words. Now you know that. What can you take from that? We do a lot of mental work, do a lot of mindset coaching, and the whole element of thinking about what they can do and how they can make sure next time they're ready. And I know this stuff works for the simple reason is everything I teach in my programs is something I've experienced. So if I've experienced overwhelm when I'm speaking in front of a group, I've thought, right, what can I do to overcome this? I've gone out, I've learned something, I've applied it, I've learned from it, and then I teach my clients it. And so everything I do, I've basically learned the model, created and adapted a new model, and then used it myself and helped my clients use it. And so not only do I know what I'm talking about, I have the insights and the understanding of what happens from their perspective as well. And so I find that's really helpful for me. It helps me be able to be much more empathetic to people, but also I know what they're going through. I've experienced it myself, and so I can help them much more effectively. There's a tendency that if we're in overwhelm, we generalize. We think everything's going to be terrible. Or we catastrophize and think the worst thing could happen. Yet when we write it down and get it on paper, our mind kind of settles down a bit. We look at it and we go, okay, maybe it's not as bad. We then go out and do whatever we're doing. Come back, review, look at it, and go, actually, do you know what? What I thought would happen didn't happen. But the important part is to remember that, to make a note of that, so that next time you get that fear factor, you get that anxiety before you're doing something, look back about what you learned about yourself. Again, write it all down if you need to. I'm 20 plus years into presenting in front of groups. I still get anxious and nervous depending on who I'm speaking to and what I'm speaking about. So I will sit down and write out what's inside my head. I will then write out afterwards what happened and how other people perceived it, or my perception of how other people perceived it. And from that, I will realize that what was in my head is not always real, and actually most of the time it's not real. So go and do the same, and I'd love to know what impact it had on you just writing it down. Just doing that part in itself. If you can't do anything else, just do that part itself. And you'll be surprised how you feel as a result of just writing all that down. Right, this dog is telling me that I'm not giving him enough attention. So he's getting overwhelmed by the fact that, or maybe he's not getting overwhelmed, he's getting frustrated but the fact that I'm not giving him enough attention. So I'm going to give him some more attention while you go and write out what's in your head, why you feel overwhelmed, and what you can think about doing to overcome that.